position is this, that in order to solve the problem of our deficit, which we have to solve, I've got 4 grandkids and 1 more on the way. I do not want them saddled with this deficit and the interest payments and the borrowing from China and other countries. We have to solve the problem. But we have to do it in a balanced way. There has to be cuts, absolutely, no question about it. But we also have to ask people who have been making millions of dollars over the last decade, the millionaires and billionaires, to pay their fair share. So I'm in favor of continuing the tax cuts for middle-class families and asking people at the top of the pay scale to step up and do their part. It's about time. They've made a lot of money. It's about time they sacrificed, like middle-class families have sacrificed for way too long. That's what I feel about the Bush tax cuts. I've already voted of our bill that would do exactly that, to preserve middle-class tax cuts and to ask the people at the top of the scale to pay a little bit more. I think it's only fair.
Ms. McSally, you have 2 minutes to answer that question.
We are suffering from the worst economic recovery since the Great Depression. We've had 43 months now of unemployment over 8%. If you add in those who quit looking for work and the underemployed, it's somewhere between 15 and 19%. We have the lowest number of people participating in the workforce right now. Household median incomes are down. Middle class net worth are down. The middle class has been crushed in this last 4 years. Now is not the time to raise taxes. We need Washington, D.C. to stop kicking the can and start, solving problems that are actually going to get our economy going again. Our debt continues to climb. It's over $16 trillion right now, which is $50,000 for every single person in America, man, woman, and child. I'm interested in solving problems and getting results. We should not be just immediately saying, let's just raise taxes in the middle of an economic decline that everyone is suffering from. We need to reform the tax code. We need to simplify the tax code. We need to bring the corporate rate down so we incentivize companies coming back home. Small businesses are the engine of growth. 7 of 10 jobs are created by small business owners. And when we start dividing these lines that are in the tax cuts and we're bickering about fair shares and class warfare, we're going to be impacting small businesses. 50% of them are filing tax returns as individuals, and they're the ones that are hiring people. So why don't we work together? Why don't we figure out how to reform the tax code? Why don't we figure out how to start getting the economy going again? Why don't we figure out how to start putting people back to work and incentivize small businesses so that they can actually be the engine of growth? Why don't we sit down across the aisle and try and solve these problems together?
Thank you. You have 30 seconds.
Let's do the math.
Phil, just for the record, it wasn't there, the time wasn't up.
I apologize.
I had 30 more seconds.
I'm sorry, would you like to have 20 more seconds?
Yeah.
I apologize.
Sure. You know what? These are complex issues, and we got to figure out together how to stop bickering with each other and being so divisive. And let's see how we need to be decisive. That was a Freudian slip, right? We need to be decisive. We need to sit down and solve these problems to get people back to work. But we shouldn't be raising taxes on people and small businesses right now. Let's figure this out together.
Thank you. Mr. Barber, you have 30 seconds.
The tax bill that I voted for would ensure that 98% of the people in this country would not have an increase in taxes. It would ensure that 97% of small businesses would not have an increase in taxes. Don't you think it's okay to ask millionaires and billionaires to pay a little bit more to help our country get out of this mess?
All right, folks. You're cutting off their time by doing that.
Okay. And people have said, oh, we can't raise taxes on millionaires and billionaires because they're the job creators. My question to them is, where are the jobs?
Okay, number 4 goes to Ms. McSally. The economic condition of our country worries most Americans. If you are elected to Congress, what actions will you take to ensure a balanced budget and a reduction in our growing deficit?
Thanks. Economic security is the #1 issue right now, and that includes a lot of things. It includes people that are looking for jobs that are unemployed or underemployed. It includes kids graduating from college with mounting debt, moving back with their parents and not being able to find 50% of them can't find a job. It includes our seniors who have saved up their whole lives, and because of artificially low interest rates, their money is not working for them the way that they had planned and hoped. Our debt's at $16 trillion right now, and this is serious business. We are on the road to Greece. And when I was teaching as a professor, I had a student in my class from Greece, and he's in the military, and he said, Colonel McSally, Should a military officer come to work and put their uniform on if they're not being paid? That's what's going on in Greece right now. And that's the road that we're going on. So we need to solve this problem together. We gotta figure out how to get the economy growing again. We gotta show some fiscal discipline. We gotta sit down and look at the whole pie chart. Every single dollar of our taxpayers' dollar that's going to Washington, D.C., we need to scrutinize it, make sure that it's exactly what it should be spent on, so we can start bringing the cost down of the federal government. I support a balanced budget amendment. I think it's the only way to force Congress to actually stay within their means. When we as households and as families sit down with our bills, we gotta figure out how to make it work and figure out how to pay. And unless there's a time of war and emergency, Congress should have to do the same thing. They should have to figure out how revenue is gonna match their output and do this together in a way that's gonna get America going on the right track. I'm not interested in political bickering. I'm not interested in one-upsmanship. I'm not interested in saving my job. I'm interested in saving your job. Mr. Barber, unfortunately, in the way he's been running his campaign, seems like he's interested in saving his job. The way he's been running divisive, lying, sexist attacks on me. Let's figure out how to bring integrity back to represent you and fight for what you believe in this country and get us going again.
You have 2 minutes, Congressman.
Well, first of all, Colonel McSally, I find it very offensive for you to misrepresent my position. You know that I didn't run that ad, and you're trying to make it up that I did. You have run a very divisive campaign, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to take the issues right to you, the issues on which we disagree on, and one of those is the balanced budget. You have said you would support the Ryan budget to balance the budget going forward. You know what that would do? It would destroy Medicare. It would take away student loans and Pell Grants. It would raise taxes on middle-class Americans, to give taxes to the oil industry and people at the top. That's not the way to do it. There is a framework that we can work on, and that is the Simpson-Bowles proposal, which I don't agree with every part of it, but it's a framework to start. It would go for a simplified tax system. It would ask that we have more income, which would include people at the top of the scale. It would ask that we balance the budget in a reasonable and moderate way. I don't agree with some of it, certainly not the piece on Medicare or Social Security, but I do think it's a framework that we can go forward. One of those pieces is that we should reduce the corporate tax rate from 35 to 28%, and we should make a 25% tax for manufacturing industry down from 35%. But by the same token, we need to take away the loopholes that allow those industries to charge off and to go to other countries to charge their moving expenses. We need to stop that. We cannot continue that. So there's a way to do this, but it's not an extreme way that my opponent proposes. I think we need to meet in the middle, and that's what I've been doing since I went to Congress, working with people on both sides of the aisle, with 3 bills that are bipartisan bills that support our troops and support our country and support our veterans. That's my practice, that's what I'm going to do. But her extreme policies, I'm afraid, are not in the middle, and they won't get us the answers to balancing this budget.
Ms. McSally, you have 30 seconds left.
Congressman Barber, there you go again, acting like a politician and misrepresenting my positions. When I was first asked about the Ryan plan in February, I said, who's Paul Ryan? And all of a sudden, I'm like his twin sister. I've gone on the record many times saying I have concerns about that budget, specifically on the issues of Medicare and other things. You know it, and you're still making things up. He says he supports Simpson-Bowles. You want to pay 15 more cents at the gas pump? You want to lose the home interest mortgage deduction? You want student loans no longer to be funded? You got to look at that plan, which he says is a starting point. Look, this is, politicians are just bickering with each other and lying, which is what he's doing again on this particular point.
You know,
That's your 30 seconds. Sorry. We're not going back and forth.
I've got 30 seconds.
No, she had 30 seconds. We're going on to the next question.
Oh, okay, we'll do it next time.
Okay, I did keep track of that one.
Is that right?
All right. I do appreciate